What's up, Quadcopter fans? It's HiringADrone.com, and today I've got a video for you, and I'm going to be doing a comparison between two drones. One is the Eachine H8 Mini Quadcopter, and the second is the UDI RC U27 Mini Quadcopter. So to get started, first and foremost, both these are not exactly in the same class. There is a price difference between the two. The UDI roughly runs around $49, and the H8 Eachine runs around like $22, $23. If you take off the prop guards, you'll notice that there's not too much different in size and weight. The UDI U27 weighs considerably more, and if you look at the motors, you can just see the difference between these motors here. These things are designed for lift. This thing flies great, heavy duty. This one can barely lift much of anything, but it is extremely light. You can see down here in the motor seats where the motors are on this one. Not as much power, but both definitely have some great features. So to get started with the Eachine H8, definitely really do like this drone. If you're a starter, you might not like it as much because it's very sensitive on the 360 turns. You got to learn how to just barely tap it, because if you push it just a little too much, this thing will spin in circles, and sometimes it's difficult to be able to get your orientation, especially if you're flying in the daylight. So to go over, a lot of the good stuff on here, it does have prop guards on here, which is nice. You cannot take them off, but I haven't really noticed that it's affected the flight any. This thing is extremely light. It does have the ability to be able to take off the motors, replace them. It does have a battery bay, so you can purchase additional batteries. I've only seen additional ones sold in China, so it takes a little while for them to get here. And they're fairly expensive too as well, even though this battery bay is pretty big, and you can see there's some extra room in here. This just really doesn't have the power to be able to lift up any heavier sized batteries to give you a longer flight time. Flight time with this is probably about 4 to 5 minutes on a fully charged, and it handles extremely well. This thing hovers, this thing dives, the pirouettes, the 360s are a little out of control, but it's definitely fun to fly. Doesn't have any bumpers on it that come standard with this. It does have some little rubber pieces that you can put on here. They're double adhesive, but if you hit the ground, it just rips them off, and you're going to lose them anyway, so you might as well take them off from the start. So for the price, this is definitely a great drone. It's probably not for a starter. I'm kind of a noob, and I bought it. I like it, but it's difficult for me to fly in the daylight. And a couple of things that I did notice is that the lights on mine are actually backwards. So the red are in the front, which typically are blue, and the blue are in the back. So sometimes this can get confusing, especially if you have a lot of drones that you fly, because you can kind of get lost in your orientation. Now when you're flying in the daylight, and this thing's so small once it's out there, you really can't tell heads from tails, especially when it's on this side, or this side. You can tell if it's in the back because you can kind of see the wires, but really you have three sides where you don't really know where you're at. So if this thing goes into one of its crazy 360 spins, good luck trying to figure out where you're at. You got to play around with the controller in order to kind of figure out where your orientation is. I guess you could do some personal mods by coloring, these here, maybe with a marker or a Sharpie, so you're not adding any weight with paint or anything like that. So that way you can at least tell your orientation when you are flying this thing in the daylight. At night, super easy to fly. This does handle fairly well in the wind. It is light, so you do need to put it in the advanced mode in order to be able to fly it back. But other than that, not too many complaints with this. I'm not sure why this battery is all jammed into this battery bay on this, but fairly good for the price. Definitely, in that $20 range, I would say this is probably one of the best. If you can get used to, the way that this turns so quickly, especially for starters. Now you can, on the controller, you can just, kind of barely nudge it and it will, turn a little bit slower. So this is the controller, pretty standard for most of the cheaper Nanos. It doesn't take very many batteries. I believe it's only 2 AA's or 2 AAA's. Controller is fairly easy, has some stiffness to it, so you can slightly move over to do your 360s, and you can get good control with it. This thing hovers great too as well. You got your trim buttons on this, and you also have your speed buttons on here. When you put it in the fast speed, this thing really does take off. Never really figured out what this button here is for. I don't even know if it does anything. But this one does have a return to home mode. So if you click into here, it has a one-touch return to home, and maybe this could even be what that is. I've never used it before, but it is on this one. So the controller is lacking. With like the SEMA X11 Hornet, you get a really nice controller, slightly big drone, and a little bit more controllable. So for a beginner, the SEMA might be the way to go, especially in this $20 price point. But overall, definitely a great buy for 20 bucks. Probably one of the best that you're going to get. You just got to get used to, no orientation. You also have to get used to the lights being incorrect on there. At least they're on mine. Maybe it's just the way that it was made. Now this drone here, the UDI RC U27, this one is a little bit more expensive. It's very, very sturdy, very, very thick. This thing can take a beating. The prop guards are stiff. They can come off. So you do have the ability to be able to remove them, unlike this one here, where they're on the frame. You could clip these off. This has very easy orientation because you can see the blue lights in the front, black propellers if you're flying in day, red propellers in the back. And then if you look here on the bottom, these glow white at night and these glow red. So this doesn't really have a problem at night other than, just the colors being a little bit backwards. This thing can lift, so it comes with 2 batteries as opposed to this Eachine H8, which only comes with 1. So that's definitely a plus here. Now this does have a return to home too as well on it, which is nice, but again, this one's a little bit more expensive, about $20 more. It looks like this one can be upgraded to a camera case or a camera card in here, where you can put that in the bottom here. And the frame on this is very, very solid. I don't think you're going to be breaking it anytime soon. Propellers are much bigger. Motors are much bigger. If you look on the bottom here, you have some built-in cushions on your motor mounts for nice, easy landings to cushion the blow. Whereas this, you have to glue some double adhesive bumpers on there that rip off, and I don't have them on there because I've ripped them off, and so it does land a little bit harder, whereas this one has a little bit of a cushion blow on it. The battery is much bigger. You got the battery bay back here. I don't like the plug back here because it doesn't seem to line up correctly when trying to plug in your battery. It's a little bit of a hassle, whereas where these wires are a little bit more exposed and easy to do. Now this one does have the benefit is that since the wires are not exposed, you only have one wire running back there, there's no chance of the wires getting caught up or hung up or causing any weird weight distributions. Whereas this one, when you got the wires connected here, they're just hanging out the back here, and your wreck or anything like that, these propellers can catch it and get caught in there and possibly cause some damage. Both these are, have everything pretty much enclosed. This one does have some openings. If you see here where the lights are, you can see the circuit board through there, and if you look through where the battery is, it is exposed there. So you might want to be careful if you're flying this one in any type of damp or dewy conditions or anything like that, if there's some wetness on the grass. Other than that, I mean, this battery bay is considerably bigger, so you can put some different size batteries in there and get more flight time, especially since this one comes with two. Motors are much more powerful, but that is to be expected because this one is a little bit more expensive. Now, since you pay almost $50 for this one, roughly $20 for about this one, this one's almost close to the Tarantula. I mentioned that in other videos before too as well. And the Tarantula by far is one of the best buys that you can get for $65. It's not a mini, it's a full-blown quadcopter that can lift a GoPro. This cannot lift a GoPro. You'd be lucky to get some cheap camera on here where your pictures will probably look like crap. So this is by no means a camera bird. Cannot lift a GoPro, even though it's about $15 off in the price. Now, this controller that it comes with, really, really nice. Has some nodules here, easy to control, some stiffness, some feedback. When you turn it on, you do have a screen, so you can see, your different modes for fast, low, medium, high. You also can see your trim adjustments, so you're not just guessing, whereas with this cheaper controller you are, but that's what you're paying for with this extra money. And this one can fly inverted, so you can do a flip upside down. This will fly like this, or you can flip the other way and fly inverted upside down. So it's one of the few drones out there right now that allow you to be able to do it. And these buttons up here control it, and these buttons also do have some camera and recording functions if you do have a camera in there. What's nice is you can see, your throttle levels, and it fairly holds the throttle relatively decent, if you can get, your 360 spins. Like I was saying before, is that this one will spin like crazy, with just the slightest movement on the stick. But this one here, very stable, nice and slow when it turns on that one motor. So this handles very, very well. Other than that, you can see the range on your controller. This is 0 because it's not bound to the quadcopter. And you can see your battery life for the controller. And this controller does take 4 AA's, which is a considerable amount, but given the fact that you do have the screen here, it does make sense. So, this is a very nice controller, especially for one of these minis. The only bad thing is when you start, kind of getting into these minis and nanos, you start accumulating all these controllers. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to bind all my quadcopters to one controller. That'd be nice if I could, but I'm not quite there yet. But it sure would reduce a lot of controllers laying around or having to chuck around. So both of them are definitely great buys. Both of them have return to home headless modes, 6-axis, 4 channels. They both do 360 turns. This one does fly inverted. This one does have a better controller with it. This one is nice and smooth, not necessarily for beginners. You might get a little frustrated because the orientation issues, the reverse of the lights, as well as it does not handle as well in the wind because it's very light, and you can get yourself lost not knowing where you're at. So I will be making some modifications to mine, coloring this up so then that way I can tell where the hell I'm at. But as far as controllers go, obviously this beats it. For the money, you cannot beat this drone for the price. $20 here in the US, China probably $15 to $16, whereas this one in the US, you're going to pay about $50, and not much more. You can get the full size drone. So Both are really good. If you're looking for a really good mini and you don't mind the price, I would definitely go with this. But if you are on a budget, you want a great drone that you can fly indoor, outdoor. This is definitely a great one for the price. Probably one of the better ones in that $20 price point. So if this video helped you out in any way, definitely give it a thumbs up, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for new videos that will be uploaded.